Today we're going to be talking about the concept of minimal viable product. You see, the problem or issue that seems to be very common with people who want to start their first business is, oh, I have to do all these elaborate stuff. I have to spend thousands of dollars building a team or a elaborate website with the highest design. And there's this concept called a minimal viable product that shows you that you don't have to do that. In fact, you shouldn't do all that because you're just going to waste a ton of money. And it's kind of defined by the name, and it was popularized by a very well-known book called The Lean Startup, which I recommend. I'll leave a link in the description to the book. But anyhow, what is the point of a minimal viable product? It simply means you first go out there and create a skeletal version of this at the lowest of levels to test and validate it to see if people are willing to pay for this. So there's a great book called $100 Startup that goes through a ton of real life examples about people who really just built the most skeletal versions of their website. And even with those, even in modern times, they were able to get that many sales. Turns out what a lot of people do is they spend a ton of money on unnecessary stuff. Maybe $50,000 for a website that's really only cost $10,000, but they didn't know any better. And then even though that $10,000 was completely unnecessary because it's not about how fancy or great the website looks. It's about, well, is this something that people would actually pay for? And there's plenty of real life big company examples that started like this at a very small scale. One of them is Groupon. Groupon is a very well-known website where they aggregate coupon deals, and if you buy them, you get pretty good percentages off for a restaurant or a club or wherever you're spending coupons on. And if you actually trace back its history, they started out with a very, very simple idea specifically to test it out and just get a skeletal version working. And essentially what occurred is the website was simply a very limited amount of these coupon deals because they saw that there was demand. And I think that's one thing that people don't realize. For a lot of industries, especially new ones, if people are willing to pay for it, sooner or later, there's going to be new companies being found. And from there, there will be demand naturally. So that's something to look into. Of course, it's not a end-all be-all explanation for everything, and I'm not a complete expert at this. But if you want to learn a lot more, there are plenty of books that are really thick, not that thick, they're about this thick, and they go into great detail on this, two of which I recommend, Lean Startup and the $100 Startup. For that latter book, there's plenty of examples, including a map business that was started by accident and with a very minimal viable product type process. So how did that work? Well, they wanted to go traveling, so they printed out this giant map. But because the place that they paid to print at only did it in bulk, they had 19 plus extra copies of these big maps. So they simply put up a website and put up this really skeletal, minimalist shopping cart, and fairly soon people found their website and started buying it. There was very quick demand there. So those sort of things really teach me a lot of lessons which might help you. A lot of people, they drag their feet through the sand and do everything they can and try and pull their customer in for that first sale. Some businesses, this is not necessary at all. The product sells itself, and that's really something that's, I think it's much easier to do, and it's a lot better for everyone. You don't have to kill yourself trying to sell something that may not be that good. And the second thing is that with a product like this, it's really just show it to them and test. It doesn't require anything more. And the caveat to that is that the internet is getting a lot crowded and noisier. Even YouTube is. YouTube's the second largest search engine, and it's just it's clear that you cannot just build it and they will come. You can have the best website in the world, but if people don't stumble across it and share it, and maybe you're getting one visit a day or 0 visits a day, people aren't going to find your stuff. So it requires a certain level of sharing and letting people know. Maybe it's family and friends. Maybe it's going out there in person and telling people about it, and not just staying on the computer. And then the final thing, of course, is maybe SEO or paid traffic. But again, sometimes it does not require that much work. You could literally just talk to people in real life and test it out. Of course, I'm not an expert, and the books go into great detail on this. So check them out, and I'll see you in the next video. Of course, if you're new, hit the subscribe button below for exclusive updates.